You might say I'm far from home, but the way I see it, my backpack is my temporary home, and it moves with me at about 25 kilometers each day. For the past dozen years, I've been a nomad. Coming into another's homeland, I'm keen to explore what that actually means as an outsider passing through. Since setting foot in the Middle Kingdom, I've been following the Hu Line. It's an imaginary boundary that divides East and West China, and it'll steer me some 6,000 kilometers across 10 provinces. Now, it's brought me into the Luliang mountain range of Shanxi, and I'm somewhat taken aback. Until 3 days ago, I didn't know that the Luliang mountain range even existed, right? Because we're planning like 1 day ahead at the most, and then this weather came in from Siberia, and it suddenly turned from springtime back into winter. For me, this is like walking back in time. It's very unexpected and very beautiful and lovely as a surprise. Walking alongside me for almost 2 months now is Liu Lifeng, who has become dear as family. She was recommended to me 8 years ago when I was in the Caucasus, and if somebody's reputation travels that far, you know that she's a pretty special person. I mean, she's been traveling around the world, she knows how the world works, she knows how China works. We're going down to this valley, and we'll walk.
Villages, there will be villages in 1 kilometer, and then there will be one after another.
But not even Li Feng could have anticipated the snowstorm that is looming. We are ill-equipped and must find shelter before nightfall.
刚下过雪，就特别不适合扎帐篷，所以我们就看到了路边的这个牛棚，我们就想肯定有住家吧，然后就找进去。
Li Hulin and Chen Tanshuan found each other through a village matchmaker some 40 years ago. They live in a cave house where they work to raise cows every single day from sunrise to sunset. They were very friendly, and because of my own background, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I also worked with cows as a cowboy, and we were able to kind of exchange stories about keeping cows. And they had about 90 cows, which is pretty big. For millennia, China had an agricultural civilization that valued family, clan, and the social connections formed through farming. The concept of home was very much attached to the land. A plot of earth watered with sweat, and soil became a shelter from whatever changes the world outside might bring.
He's going to make some noodles for us.
You're like a perpetual motion. I've never seen her sit down since I met her. Tell her that her daily life makes walking across China look very easy.
Very easy.
我们这10-20年来干这个事，如果走得累，越走越累。下午又能做，下午能做一会儿。
你也吃点吧。
我们吃。
We found ourselves at ease, as if we were relatives or longtime neighbors. The couple's warmth made a home for us. We felt included. We really want to thank her for accepting us yesterday evening. She could have easily said, you know, we're too busy. We really, she gave us her stories and cooking and a warm place to sleep. Thank you very much.
也谢谢你们来这儿，就这个啊，这还别那溜溜车啊。可以啊。
啊，你回来了，大哥。忙得差不多了。
菜都没有了。
我们吃过了已经。吃过了。啊，吃过了。
Well, we're getting ready to pack up
今儿不住题了？
不住了，我们还
往你这走啊，
还得往下走。就是你们也忙你们的，打扰不是。
As we depart, I can't help but think about the dizzying China beyond these farmhouse walls. There is no country that I have been in my life that is transforming itself as fast, physically, in terms of the physical landscape, right? But you see your home village or town changing every year. After 5 years, you don't recognize it anymore. What interests me as a storyteller is are people's emotions, psychology changing equally fast? What does that mean about your geography of your own identity? The paths of our ancient ancestors guides me further northeast into Shanxi province. Walking partners, old and new, have stepped in, bringing with them their own ideas of belonging, of home. Becky Lin is back after a year-long hiatus. An entrepreneur who has spent a large part of her life working abroad, this foot journey through her homeland is both a physical and emotional exploration.
在1年之后重新加入保罗之后，虽然我们走的路不一样，我们的地形不一样，景色不一样，在四川的时候是南边嘛，现在在北边，我们感受到的文化也不一样。但是我觉得对我来说最大的一个意义就在于，在这个行走的过程中，打开了我的很多感官，它打开了我的眼界，它打开了我的思想，它打开了我的心。通过步行，我的心变得更大的时候，我看到的风景，我接受的体会就完全都不一样了。
Accompanying us is Wang Wei, a professor of archaeology at Shanxi University who is eager to venture outside the comforts of the classroom.
有人曾经说过，只有徒步旅行者才能理解这个世界或者一个区域到底有多么的广大。我们在书斋里或者我们在各种各样的渠道接触到的中国的信息都是不完整的，但是当你真的走出来的时候，你接触到各种各样的人，遇到各种各样的事儿，你就会对我们这个国家会有更深入的了解。
I've always thought that home is wherever my feet are planted. It is a different order of experience to come here slowly, day by day, seeing the mountains emerge over the horizon first, and then to find these small pieces of pilgrims' trails that have largely been vanished. They've been paved over by roads, plowed under by fields. To find pieces of them is very moving. Your heart starts to beat faster. Our hilly trail in Shanxi soon carries us to a remote and beautiful Foguang Temple.
Foguang 对我来说是一个很神奇的地方。
How many times have you been here?
我想今天大概应该是20次左右了吧。
20次。
What keeps bringing you back?
因为我对中国的古建筑一直很感兴趣，在山西大学呢也带这个古建方面的课。那我们现在发现唐代建筑呢，其实总共只有说4座，山西呢总共有3座，佛光寺是其中我们最早发现的，也是规模最大、内涵最丰富、保存最好的。
Built in the 5th century, this site is not just a holy shrine for the faithful, but for cultural enthusiasts too. Its architecture, its statues, its murals and inscriptions are a moving fusion of art and cultural exchange through the centuries. You can almost feel their presence as artisans, right? And the quality of their work.
所以我来这么多次，每一次来有一点收获，就表示我对古人的这个建筑可能理解比以前又多了一点。
It's the reward of close attentiveness. It's the reward of not coming, seeing, and leaving, but coming back again and again and again.
Yeah.
The way you come back to a favorite poem, the way you come back to a favorite spot in your city to sit, to have a cha or a coffee, and here to study this. This is like a 9th century teacher who's waiting for you to come and just listen.
Yeah. Teacher. Good teacher. Best teacher.
According to Professor Wang, ancient wooden buildings are a treasure of Chinese architecture, and the dugong is one of its most representative features.
这个转角斗拱它有100多个建筑构件组成的，而且对都是互相咬合榫卯在一起的。就这个斗拱的净高就达到4米高，非常大。它本身就是一件非常重要的艺术品。
You know, I was thinking these pieces of wood are 1,200 years old, right? What's their condition now? Like if we got up there on a ladder, we knocked on it, would it still be solid? You know, or would it kind of?
你可以推它，绝对没有问题。非常可靠。你把其中的一些零件换掉，它整体的稳定性是可以维持的。
If you asked me to kind of replace one of those pieces, I would be calling you saying, "First one, I think I put it in backwards." Or I don't know where it goes. Temples have been built on Mount Wutai ever since Buddhism was introduced to China from India around the 1st century CE. At its height, there were over 300 temples and monasteries here. It is a sacred hub, revered by Chinese emperors and pilgrims from as far away as India, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. Today, about 50 ancient complexes that remain are afforded preservation and protection like rare archives, cataloging more than 1,000 years' worth of cultural development and regional influences on Chinese architecture.
我们看这个光景，大概和1000年前我们的古人修建这座寺庙的时候看到光景是差不多的。我觉得光景相通，记忆相通，感情也相通。 所以这个地方就觉得好像有魔法一样，让你能和那个时代对话。
So 1,000 or 1,200 years ago, pilgrims came and they basically went temple to temple, right, walking around the Wutai Shan. Was it sometimes a circle? Was it intentionally to be a circuit, like a circle?
大致是按照理想。
My walk is a circle too. The circle just happens to be the circumference of the world. So it's a pilgrimage in itself, and these are two pilgrimages that kind of have overlap. So there's understanding. I say, this feels familiar, almost like home. Mount Wutai remains a spiritual home for many. Transcending its physical structures, it strikes me as a landscape that embodies the human quest for finding meaning, to connect and to belong. Here, people of diverse identities traveling from distant lands found a spiritual touchstone. My walking partners and I have come to Yamingguan, or Wild Goose Pass in northern Shanxi.
保罗已经见证了黄河，五台山也算是太行的一部分，而且他将来要走出太行山，他都会见到。但是长城，我觉得，是整个旅行中可能看的相对较少一点。而这一段呢，是我知道的，我个人认为是山西长城中最雄伟壮丽也保存最好的一段长城。
The Great Wall of China is a gigantic 2,000-year-old artifact that winds for 21,000 kilometers across the north of the country. However, this particular stretch of fortifications has not been restored for tourism. Few come here. It requires a steep uphill hike.
Wow. 这里你们要小心哦。
Our trail less traveled soon pays off, with the wild Great Wall unraveling before us.
Incredible.
A strategic choke point that once defended ancient Chinese states from each other, as well as against the nomadic world of Eurasia. These wild walls have borne the brunt of wars, witnessed the rise and fall of dynasties, endured the clashes of cultures. But they also were permeable. They didn't hold back exchanges of people, goods, or ideas. Today, it's like one big open-air museum. Is there any stretch of wall like this anywhere else in China that's this kind of untouched, unchanged?
很多地方都有。
Wow.
真正变成景区的还是很少一部分。长城的问题就是它太长了， 规模太大了，所以也不可能给它全部翻修。所以我们现在主要就是哪有危险，比如说要倒塌呀、很严重的危险进行抢修。别的地方的话就暂时就保持现状。这种即将倒塌的，或者说因为这种时间的变迁造成的这种废墟一样的景观，我觉得也很美。
Yeah, beautiful ruins.
我在北京参观过八达岭长城，但是我没有走过这种保存的这么好，然后却没有大肆修起、维修的长城，这是第一次。我希望它不是最后一次。啊，look at the people living there。
那是修长城的人的工棚，他们住在那儿。啊，你们是修长城施工的，上来住多长时间啊？
住，那时候4年了都修了。
3年？平时都住在这儿？
哎，冬天就回去了，夏天
回去，夏天来。有多少人修这个？
咱有个20多个。
那你们上来吃饭怎么办呢？
那边有火房，水有那种的水管。
也是从底下接上来的？
对，加水管加锁了的。
哦，电有没有？
电有的。
也是拉电线上来。
Good, well, good work. 辛苦了。
哦，辛苦了，师傅，辛苦，拜拜，
谢谢，再见。You always hear about the Great Wall of China, like you always hear about the Grand Canyon, or you always hear about the North Pole. But then you come up here and you walk, and it's impossible not to think about all those thousands of lives as you're walking on what they built. Extraordinarily difficult carrying these bricks up from the bottom of the valleys. It must have taken lifetimes to pull together. Yeah, I'm overwhelmed. It's emotional to be up here. I think it's a day that I will always remember. A once in a lifetime day.
Do you know this gate? 这个叫暗门 ，secret gate。Secret
gate.
This gate.
对，船上都没有门，对吧？但是有时候，比如说你要派人过去刺探他对方的情况，间谍要出去，对吧？或者有对方的人投诚要过来，你就会留一些暗门，做这种秘密行动，从外面看不出来。
Was it disguised on the outside with trees or something, or?
它会弄得很小，到时候比如用门啊或者什么东西都可以把它堵死，也会种一些树，用些草把这个门给掩盖住。我们这一段会看到类似的门还有2、3个。
Oh, really? And they appear just kind of randomly, like not every 100 kilometers.
没有固定的距离，它可能会根据它的需求，然后根据地形地势找一个比较适合建筑门的地方去修。
This is so cool, this little keyhole. What a great detail. Wow.
This gate go to another world.
Another world.
Yeah.
It's passing between two realities.
Yeah. 长城对中国来说不光是一个建筑，它是一个象征，精神上的象征。
精神上的象征。
有些人把长城比作叫中华民族的脊梁。
Once the edge of an unknown universe, the Great Wall of China is a sobering reminder of what humans did to protect themselves, their loved ones, their livelihoods, their homes. I have never lived anywhere for very long since I was a child. I crossed my first border when I was after kindergarten, and I think that act of moving across a border so young planted the seed for the ideas of this project, because I've been crossing borders ever since. It's not so much in a quest for home, like searching for home, because I feel at home wherever I am. It's more out of curiosity to see where other people live and to see how their lives are similar and different than mine. But underneath it all, to realize that they could be family. So home is a very intangible but very important part of being human. I hoped that walking long distances through landscapes would put me into a state of mind our ancestors had as hunter-gatherers, to a time that was more connected to nature, anchored in seasons. But one major realization of this journey is how much the Earth has been transformed by the human hand. But I'm always looking for reasons to hope. Since setting foot in the Middle Kingdom, I've been following the Hu Line. It's an imaginary boundary that divides East and West China, and it'll steer me some 6,000 kilometers across 10 provinces. Now it's brought me to the northeast, known as Dongbei, and it's as wild as it gets. I love Dongbei. I had been reading about Dongbei for a long time, and when I found out that there had been a new park created in 2021, Northeast China Tiger and Leopard National Park, it has been high on my agenda to visit it. And so here I am. At 14,065 square kilometers, it includes control areas, logging production, and residential zones, as well as migratory corridors which have been woven into an ecosystem the size of a small country. The goal is to protect the endangered population of Siberian tigers and Amur leopards, predators by nature, now under protection of human beings. Biologists know that if you protect the predators at the top of the pyramid of an ecosystem, you protect everybody else underneath. I would love to see a tiger in real life, as would my local walking partner, 27-year-old Shu Haoqian.
开始的预期肯定是希望能看到一些老虎啊。 然后没想到是这么一个，就是万无一失的这么一个状态，就是比较原始的，属于这么一种状态。
If there's anyone who knows the land, it's Wang Xianli. He's dedicated over half of his life to Jingo Ling station. The 54-year-old is a forest guard. Today, we're heading out on patrol with his team, which is a real privilege given that the park is not yet open to the public. The forest guards get to work, looking for traps and any signs of illegal activity, collecting animal samples for research, and recording information that helps give an idea on the welfare of the environment.
刚才那个耗子，这是它的印儿，就来回这钻到窟窿里了。对，兔子，啊，哎，这是兔子，看，山兔子。 这它的粪便吗？这个？对，是黄鼠狼，黄鼠狼吧？哎呦，是不是挺会呀？是黄鼠狼，俺管叫黄皮子。
Yellow skin, yeah.
就叫
Yellow skin.
Yeah, they catch the rabbits.
Ah, okay. Maybe we'll get lucky and see one.
你想看一个？扎豆子。那走了挺长时间了。 这是往那边走的。这个猪啊，6磅，这个猪得300多斤，孤个子。哇，孤个子就是雄猪
啊，没有啊，
还可以跳。就这种猪，
怎么看出是雄猪这个？
它一个单个，它就自己溜达，
就自己走就是雄猪。
我也能看，有前撒尿前 说不定他刚才尿尿离我说不定500-600米、400-500米就闻，这风一刮过来，一股烧起辣红味熏鼻子。哦，哎，记录一下子，足迹，野猪，大约24小时，数量1个，8.34。啊，对，我们那边跑了。
Mr. Wang may not have a degree from a university or be trained in a lab, but I think his years of field knowledge are valuable in terms of being able to sense the landscape through his mind and body. Just as I'm sensing it with every footfall. What's really magical about walking through this snowy forest in winter, way up here in the northeast corner of China, is the fact that the snow is like a blank page of paper that is there for anybody who wishes to slow down enough to read it. And written on this page is the lives of all these wild animals. Mink, weasels, mice, rabbits, they leave their mark. And in the springtime, these marks will vanish. So for me, it's a nice reminder of how short and precious life is. Still, no sign of a tiger. Even these men who work in the forest all their life rarely see one. But what I have seen is that this area that was once logged for decades is now recovering its wildlife, which is crucial if the remaining Siberian tigers in Northeast Asia are to truly thrive here. And I know they're out there somewhere. Li Wanlu has seen a tiger, many in fact, without even setting foot into the forest.
This is the Hunchun
Section.
Your section.
But the park is much bigger, yeah?
Yes.
And these are camera traps.
Yes.
Wow. I've come to a monitoring center at the Northeast China Tiger and Leopard National Park, where wildlife conservation has entered a new era.
这个是整个虎豹公园的地图，然后经过那个红外线相机传输到平台上，然后可能我们就2-3分钟之内左右就能看到它这个回传回来的视频。
How is it identified?
它是用那个系统自动识别，主要是根据每种动物的不同特征来进行一个识别。
And like you see this data stream coming down, you see it saying tiger. Do you click on it immediately to see it?
会马上看一眼。出现在东北虎的时候，我们需要看一眼它的体态特征是健康，然后看一下它的出现的位置。 对于人或者是动物来说，是不是能达到这种一个人和虎都比较相对安全的一个位置。
You've been here almost 3 years. In the last 3 years, how many times have you had to kind of warn a village about a tiger nearby? 2 times? 10 times?
因为我们每天就基本都是都会发。
Yeah, but there's understand 明白。
我们不光预警东北虎，就是豹活动。 然后像夏天左右熊活动也是有。
Round-the-clock monitoring using camera traps shows an increase in the number of wild Siberian tigers since the inception of the park from 27 to 50. And Amur leopard populations have expanded from 42 to 60. As the only real-time monitoring system in the world that achieves such an extensive coverage of a large national park, biologists are now leveraging some 30,000 infrared cameras to collect ecological information about the soil, the water, and air via built-in sensors. That kind of data, that kind of information is valuable not just to protect the big charismatic species like tigers and leopards, but that helps you determine the health of the forest, for example. And all these things will even help maybe modeling with climate change.
Yeah? Oh, I see the black one.
Oh, you're hired, man. Yeah. Xiao Yan is the deputy director of the Scientific Research Center at Hunshun Forestry Bureau. He shows me the key piece of technology central to keeping this sophisticated system running. And it's not a camera, if that's what you're thinking.
所有的相机都是靠信号塔去给它传播信号，完了相机拍照的那个视频会回传到我们平台上。这个塔呢是原先就有这个防火塔，它进行防火观测瞭望，就护林员在这块儿。后来是因为需要这个基站需要在高度的地方，完，在它的塔尖上就重新增加了一个基站。
You have basically built your own animal cell tower network, where the animals are kind of, in a way, talking to your experts back in Hunshun.
对，这属于是一个科技的手段运用于保护有限的人，保护更大的范围。
Well, it's fun to think of how all these wild animals are connected to the humans here. The reality is that there's still a significant physical disconnect between them. So how will the greater public get to see them once the park officially opens? Every country has a different strategy for how do you get the public into a park, which is a really important piece of the puzzle, because if you don't get people to come to the park as eco-tourists, they don't realize the value of the park and the value of the nature of their country. So the challenge for this ecosystem is how do you make it both interesting but safe, right? Because you can't have people out walking through the forest where there are big tigers around who can eat them. So it's a challenge. Back at Jingo Ling Station, Forest Guard Wang Xianli has kindly invited us for dinner.
From nearby? 就这河道的山顶的源头，水的源头，没有污染。
The Northeast China Tiger and Leopard National Park is home to some 19,000 people, a fact that can be easily overlooked when there is so much focus on the wildlife. Villagers who farmed, hunted, logged, and mined here until the land gave in have since resigned themselves to a new way of life and a new purpose: conservation, like Mr. Wang and his peers. While they've never seen a real live tiger, they know someone who has.
这个看到老虎的他看了2次了。谢谢。梁宝林，你好。
坐这近点，咱唠嗑。
你们速度啊。
Liang Baolin had an encounter with a Siberian tiger less than a month ago at a frog farm not too far from here.
Like, what was the situation where you saw the tiger?
他是碰巧，我是在那个河边走，他是在山根那边过来。他听我在河头往哗啦哗响嘛，他寻思什么野生动物什么狍子野猪呢，他就过来到那一看是人，他就瞅着我。
How far away?
5、6米。
篱笆。
这个。
Wow. Can you tell, is it like a male, female, or is it young, old? Looking at it?
小的那公我不知道。
It probably didn't look small when you saw it with your eyes.
哎呦，那也有个1.5米那么长吧，那爬的啊，200多斤有。
哇 He was laying down, looking at you.
就趴在那跟猫似的吗？
就那趴那瞅着我。那个尾巴完了看着晃着晃着，是晃着。
Tail is swinging.
So your heart. So what were you thinking when the moment you saw the tiger? What came to your mind?
当时我盯着看的时候， 我记得寻思，哎，这怎么整呢？手里头啥也没有，它攻击我怎么防备啊？我就赶紧我拎起来那杆子，就那捏的那个，捏站起来。那老虎一看我拿这个，完了他脑袋这样趴，我一下就贴地上，这样趴下了。啊，脑袋趴下了。
Then there was another sighting 2 years earlier, when he mistook a tiger for a roe deer while driving.
He's standing there.
瞅着我们车过去了，挺大啊，就这个比那个大。
My God! Wow, he looks big.
这个大，比那个屁股前头看那个大。
You're lucky. I wish I could see a tiger.
不愿意看那玩意儿，危险呐。
Tomorrow, maybe we'll see a tiger. I'll take a picture for you.
可别看那玩意儿。
Dad rather not to see them.
OK。
No, that's great.
吃饭一边聊呗。
好。
啤酒。
I think he's the lunch beer.
来喝一口吧。
来，
干杯！
There's a sense of solidarity, of brotherhood among forest guards that is extra special because it's such an isolated place and a tough job. So they rely on each other in their work to keep each other safe, and when they're off duty, they depend on each other for company. This old-fashioned way of working outdoors is just about all that remains unchanged for Mr. Wang and many who work at the park. The next morning, we're back in the forest. Fresh tiger tracks have been spotted by another forest guard out on patrol.
Oh, it's slippery.
Oh, big.
Wow, look at this.
When were these made?
Can you tell maybe how big this was by the size of the print?
对吧？现在没法说，因为时间长了啊。时间短的话，就能看出来，能知道它俩是发情期的交配的那个季，现在这个季节嘛，啊，还是大虎带崽的，就没法判断的。
And quite big.
东北虎的后长像雌虎是8.5到9.5 cm， 你像雄虎的话是9.5到11。经过它测量，你能判断它是雄虎、雌虎。对，因为我们基本上看的都是后长，因为猫科前长是被后长覆盖的。
Yeah, be careful where you step, guys. Okay.
We did not get to see a tiger, and that's of course disappointing. They are so rare. That said, we are in tiger country. We've seen tiger tracks. We've heard tiger stories. It's kind of good to know, actually, that it's still out there and as mysterious as ever. The Northeast China Tiger and Leopard National Park is a significant step for the country. A historically agricultural civilization, which has industrialized fast, is now trying to become more ecologically aware. And while this experiment may be in Dongbei, the stakes are actually global.
Believe it or not, if the tigers disappear, you may not think it'll affect your life in Shanghai or Beijing or Berlin or Buenos Aires, but it does, because the entire planet is connected as a web of life. Every species that disappears makes the world poor in terms of finding natural solutions to the problems that we cause. At this stage and age in the 21st century, unless we start taking care of Mother Nature is going to reject us. Climate change, drastic kinds of natural disasters, wildfires, rising oceans, extreme weather, disease that comes out of natural areas when they're too much disturbed. It makes sense at every level to be aware of this and to value it.
When my family emigrated to Mexico, I was 6 years old. To avoid getting beat up at school, I acquired a quick tongue fending off blows with storytelling. It was my superpower, so to speak. And maybe it launched me into a writing career, teaching me the power of narrative. Since setting foot in the Middle Kingdom, I've been following the Hu Line. It's an imaginary boundary that divides East and West China. More than 2 years later, it has steered me some 7,000 kilometers across 10 provinces. But as the end of this long traverse nears, the trail takes an unexpected turn. The idea was to walk all the way through China, more or less along the Hu Line, which goes from Yunnan to Heilongjiang. Because of world events, we decided one day we had to turn around. We were headed north and we had to kind of do almost a 180 to go back south towards Dalian. But the good thing is, I go with a big heart walking to Dalian. It'll be the first time I see the ocean in 11 years. And to be able to kind of walk to the sea as kind of my exit portal from China is a pretty wonderful thing.
I can't translate.
Joining me in Dalian to help close out this chapter of the journey are my local walking partners.
我在这之前就知道他要在离开中国的时候，希望他在中国行走期间的 walking partners 集合起来，有一个告别，有一个那么一个小小的仪式。这几天，我想无论如何，我要挤出这个时间来，所以把推掉了好多事情。
Yeah, we're gonna get off the big road, so it's gonna be a 37-kilometer day.
All right.
So let's do it. Yeah.
While the nature of foot travel is unpredictable, the power of this community has been constant. They are my brothers and sisters. It's through their eyes I've seen China, and their voices have been key to my storytelling.
Jingo, 不是虫子。And to ask if he has any ice cream?
冰棒没有。他自己搞了一块冰，他在嚼冰。我在吃肥肉。
Salud.
他的这种速度，完全性的追不上。
In Chinese medicine,
It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Wet hair, and you cover it. That will give you headache.
She's planting the corn.
Well, tell her I wish her a good harvest this year.
大美刚之欢迎你，中国欢迎你。
Tuza. Tuza. I'll send him a picture of himself. Tuza.
Oh my God, how much my life has been expanded by knowing my friends here, and how much they have taught me. You walk with somebody, you talk with them for days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months. What my walking partners share is a universe. Every one of them is a universe, and it's their lives that I think I'll be carrying away from China. With all my walking partners here at the very end, it's both a gift and a reward for all of us to share the joy of completing the journey. We begin to reminisce about our time on the trail, sharing stories that remind us of our common humanity, the stories of us. The Tea-Horse Trail along the western frontiers of China is one of the longest and most dramatic trade routes of the ancient world. We had come to the former trading hub of Ya'an to learn about the lives of the tea pickers, but we found something else brewing.
Okay. 如愿客人来哦。
Yeah.
这是您的诗句吗？
Yeah.
哦。
That's good to know.
His name was Yu Chengshang, and he was larger than life. A gentleman in his 70s who lived in a temple on a hill where he wrote poetry.
He said this a ton.
都在这里。I know there is. 我给你报出来，你看吗？
好的，好的。
我给你报出来，你看一下。
Okay. All right.
All right.
So I said, how many poems have you written? He said, I have 250 kilograms. He was talking about the papers weighed 250 kilograms of poems. He measured his poetry in kilograms.
2, then 2.
Oh.
Oh.
谢谢 Thank you so much. 谢谢 Thank you. It's very nice. 谢谢了。
So your bag became heavier?
It's filled with poetry now, and poetry doesn't weigh anything. Poetry makes you lighter. Uncle Yu didn't just write poetry. In fact, he was steeped in culture and tradition.
你看，莲花道就从这里开始了。黄龙缠腰，天地点水。好，1。
Wow.
保罗先生说你是特别
Number
棒的
1,
特别棒的。
I'm surprised, you don't have like a stream of young students from Yan coming up to the temple. This is like a movie, right? The old kung fu master living at the temple and coming up here to spend, a few days to train.
我就是在这寺庙里，也确实是在雅安来说，在武术界方面，我还是这个。
It's too almost superhuman that there'd be some old guy who's kind of living a bit like a hermit, away from his family, and he was doing martial arts every single day and also writing poems every single day. I found people like that, and those are the best stories about China, to me, that kind of capture these remarkable individuals who have their own mission, their own vision, their own philosophy, because they're like teachers, right? They're teachers to me, and if I can do my job right, they could be teachers to my readers as well.
大哥，走啊！
开始走，我们推你。
说我们走，我们推了。
Like any good story, the walk has been filled with twists and turns. Something my walking partners can attest to, having accompanied me from tropical Yunnan to now, Dalian, in the frosty northeast, where the journey will soon culminate. But what's made a lasting impression on me are the people and the landscapes. During a reprieve from trekking through parched gullies of the famous Yellow Earth Plateau in Shanxi, we chanced upon a unique migration. Xie Donglian and her family are not your average beekeepers.
Where do they sleep?
你们住在哪儿？晚上在哪儿睡觉？
自己搭帐篷。
自己搭帐篷。
They are real nomads.
Nomadic beekeeping is an ancient practice. The family travels with hundreds of beehives cross-country in search of flowers in bloom.
那你们最远能到哪儿？
云南也去过，东北也去过。
东北也去过。在一个地方一般停留多久啊？
那个就花次就是1-20天吧。
哦，就不到1个月。啊，不到1个月。
What struck me is how much knowledge Chinese farmers have about how to interact with the earth that I hope is somehow recorded for the future before these human libraries disappear. Chinese farmers have lessons about sustainability that I think would be very valuable for the entire world. A third of the world's food production depends on bees. But with bee populations on a decline due to disease, pesticides, habitat loss, and climate change, being attuned to nature's cues is vital for the survival not just of the bees, but for humankind.
就最困难的是什么？
最困难的， 最困难的总体说起来就是不留意最困难。
那个山上那个花是不留米，那个最困难。
哦，为什么花不留米呢？
啊，那个花有的时间那个花那个要前期呀，那个吃我搞地呀，啊，那个前期干旱的那会儿有时间，有的时间就有的对一点点就不留米。哎，对，再有那个正好那个开花了，刮大风的。所以一刮风，那
花粉会毁了，会吹掉了。
刮的风把那个花的那个米吹掉了。
The Forever Walk is a storytelling project whose mission is to remind readers around the world that you are part of a larger chain of stories. You can see that the challenges of the people in China are not much different than your own challenges. The joys of the people of China are not much different from your joys. And that in today's world, more than ever, more than any time in the 300,000 years of our species, their story is important because it's a global world.
It's amazing.
But every story has an end, just as my time in China has come to an end. I couldn't have made it this far without the aid of my walking partners. Almost all of them are here.
我觉得有一点遗憾，老父亲身体也不太舒服，就住院了。然后2个孩子还有上学接送，非常不容易。我问我自己，你到底要不要来？然后我下了一个决定，我还是想来的。我的家人是完全支持的，他们也觉得保罗做这个事情非常了不起，这一点我一直对我的家人心怀感激。
Come shake your hand and there's all this food.
I worked so fast. It took me 7 hours.
7 hours to come
to catch up with
you. Always were fast. Yeah. He was the first walking partner, even before Twitter, to walk from
the first one.
Oh, and Li Bing is coming.
Yeah.
So we'll have 2 the original walk
tomorrow.
We're rebuilding the Yunnan Mafia that has sort of determined this whole project in China. It's great. Thank you for coming.
Welcome, Linda.
Yes, welcome, Linda.
Welcome, Linda. Welcome
to Yes. Welcome back.
Salut.
The ocean and Dalian beckons. The end is in sight.
Like what I see.
It's sea.
See, like what I see. Spelling the sea way. Yeah.
Yes.
Can we get out this way, or is there?
This way.
Right.
Almost everything I've learned about China, I've learned on foot. It's akin to a walking university.
Wow.
Hey, Baba.
你好.
He's so smart.
People say, you know, who do you meet when you stop on these milestones, right? Every 100 miles or 160 kilometers, I stop and I talk to the first person I meet. It just so happens that at this milestone, number 91, here in Liaoning, it was a traditional Chinese medicine doctor who was like working out of a small little hut, you know, maybe 2 meters by 2 meters next to the road.
其实当时我的内心里面是有一些忐忑的，我觉得大姐仿佛不是特别的欢迎我们，那我们是不是不应该再继续打扰她了？
人不少。
结果没想到保罗指着这个桌上的拖着这个把脉的一个小垫子，他说：“我可不可以试试？你可不可以给我看一下？”然后他就让保罗把手放上来，所有的一切保罗就完全按照他说的做。
你先说。
And so she did it by pulse. You know, there are different ways to test in traditional medicine, but she kind of felt my pulse. And as the silence was dragging on, I was kind of wondering what's going on, because like almost a minute she was silent, you know, and I'm saying, oh man, I'm in trouble.
确实是遭了大毛病，肝肾胃也不好，脾胃也不好，肝肾阴虚，肝血不足。
And so I thought, okay, I'm basically dying. What am I? I'll be around till tomorrow.
And what's the treatment?
去办个医院看看怎么样？
为啥？继续地方我们 There are 3 traditional Chinese medicine. 就是 months per year, half a month.
And so how long do I take this?
Half a month.
Half a month, 2 weeks.
我当时其实，在旁边做拍摄的时候，我已经就是快笑翻了。但是同时，我明显的感觉到整个屋子里的空气，那个气氛就一下子变得温暖，充满了温情。然后这个里面有医生的专业度，也有病人的那种认真啊，那种听话，那种渴求。所以我觉得那个时候那个大姐就跟10几分钟之前就完全不一样了。
I don't know. I'll keep an eye on myself. If I have stomach trouble or lung trouble or anything, I'll know that she was right. She was right.
Like each time you just put on this bit?
For a cup.
再见，再见，再见，再见。我们走出来了之后，我的 working partner Frank 就跟保罗说：“你用自己特殊的本领改变了他对你的认知。”保罗说：“我什么都没有做，我只是把他当做我在乡村的那个汤姆大叔，当做他的亲戚，当做他的乡邻。”他说：“我仅仅就只做了这样的事情。”所以那件事情让我的感触非常的深。我觉得很多东西是可以跨越语言，跨越肤色，跨越很多我们看起来就是不能跨越的障碍。所以在这件事情上面，我是深深的感受到了那句话的力量，就是 "People are destination."
Can you get down? Ready? All right, Frank, this is it, man.
It seemed like a dream.
Are you happy?
I am happy, yes.
Yeah, my mission done, man.
Mission done, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations! We made it! We made it!
Thank you all. Thank you all. It's great.
Wow.
It's great. This is all of your joy as much as mine. Actually, I'll keep these.
So, what I love about the walk through China is it has allowed me to be able to move through China unhindered. Nobody's telling me go this way, go that way. I get to wake up every morning and go wherever I want to go. And follow my curiosity to share my discovery of China as part of this global journey, right? And China is such an important country in the 21st century that it is impossible to leave out of any project that's global. China has to be in there. And so the great privilege and luck that I've had to be able to walk through this country is extraordinary.